Welcome to the Pixel Predicted Paper 2. This is the higher tier Edexcel paper. Question 1. A spinner can land on yellow or green or white. The table shows the probabilities that the spinner will land on yellow or green. Work out the probability that the spinner will land on white. These three probabilities must add up to 1. So 1 subtract the total 0.34 plus 0.53 is equal to 0.13. This is the missing probability for white. Question 2. Use your calculator to work out this. You can do this in one go by using brackets for your numerator and your denominator and pressing divide in between. Or you can work out the numerator first, which gives you 20.62, and then work out the denominator, 10.1529, and then divide. Either way, you need to write down all the numbers on your calculator display, and you should get 2.03946,823. Question 3. Here are the ages of 15 doctors. Draw an ordered stem and leaf diagram to show this information. First, let's find the smallest value. Looking here at our ages, 23 is the smallest number, and our largest number is 53. This means our first row will be for the 20s, and our first number will be 23. Then we will have 30s, 40s, and 50s. So 23 is our first number here. Our second smallest number is 27, 7 here, and then we have 28 here, 8 next door. Moving on now to the 30s, 31, 34, 35, and 36. For 40s, we have 41, 42, 44, and then two 45s, so 5 and 5. For 50, we have 50, 50, 52, 52, and 53. Check that you have 50 numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Then, to include our key, choose any number. 3/4 means 34 years. Question 4. Work out the value of 2m plus 3n. Well, m is equal to 3, so that's 2 times 3, which is 6. 3n, 3 times -5, which is -15. 6 add -15 is going to be 6 subtract 15, which is -9. Question number 5. The nth term of a number sequence is n to the power 3 plus 2. We're asked to write down the first 3 terms of this sequence. So that was when n is equal to 1, n is equal to 2, and n is equal to 3. So substituting in n is equal to 1, 1 to the power 3 plus 2 gives us 3. 2 cubed, 2 to the power 3 plus 2 gives us 10, and 3 to the power 3, 27, plus 2 is 29. Therefore, the first 3 terms are 3, 10, and 29. Question 6. The scatter diagram shows some information about 10 cars. It shows the time in seconds for each car to go from 0 to 60 miles per hour. And for each car, it also shows the maximum speed in miles per hour. We're asked to write down the type of correlation. Here we have our points going down, so we have a negative correlation. A car takes to go from 0 to 60 is 12 seconds. We're asked to estimate the maximum speed. To do that, our first step is to draw a line of best fit. So a line that goes approximately, roughly, through the middle of these points, and a similar number of points above and below the line. So your line needs to be drawn roughly here as shown on the screen. We're then going to go to 12 on our x-axis here for the information given in the question, and then going across here lining up. So approximately 113 miles per hour. Make sure my line is drawn straight here across. So mine's coming out at 113. Yours might be slightly higher or lower, depending on where you've drawn your line. Question 7. On the grid, draw the graph of y equals 2x subtract 3 for the values of x from -2 to +3. So our first step is to generate our coordinates. So you can make a small table to the side. Our values for x go from -2 up to +3. So we go each of the integer values in between. -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. We then find the corresponding value for y from substituting. Start with the 0. When x equals 0, 2 times 0 is 0, subtract 3 is -3. 1, 2 times 1 is 2, subtract 3 is -1. 2, 2 times 2 is 4, subtract 3 is +1. 3, 2 times 3 is 6, subtract 3 is +3. And we can see here that as we go towards the left, we're subtracting 2 each time. So we can fill in here as -5 and -7, or we can substitute in and we will still get to the same answers. We then need to look at what values we have. Our x goes from -2 to 3, and our y goes from -7 to 3. So taking your ruler now, you need to draw suitable axes. So if we have our x-axis across here, and our y-axis here vertically. Taking your pen now, labelling 0 here in the centre, and we can go in 2s, 1, 2, 3, -1, -2 for the x-axis. For y, we need to go as high as 3 and as low as -7. So we will go here, -1, -2, 3, and +1, 2, 3. And then plotting our coordinates. Our first coordinate is -2, -7, -1, -5, 0, -3, 1, -1, 2, 1, and 3, 3. Taking your ruler now to connect these, we should form a straight line that goes through all of the coordinates plotted. Question 8. Write down the size of the angle marked A. We need to provide our reason. So here we can see we have our angle enclosed here, and if we extend up to A and across, we've got a corresponding angle. So these two angles are equal, so A is 35. Putting our reason down here, we have the corresponding, we make the F shape, corresponding angles are equal. Question 9. A cereal is sold in two sizes of box. Here we have the small box and the large box. We're asked which size of box gives the better value. So we need to compare our prices here for the same units. Here we have 350 and here we have 750. So we're going to divide to find the price per gram. So first off, if we look at the small box, we have our price, which is £2.69. We can convert that to pence if you wish. 269 pence divided by 350 grams, which gives us, using our calculator, 0.7685. Comparing to the large, the price converted to pence is here, divided by the total weight, 750, which is 0.5853. So here we can see that the large box is better value because it costs less per gram than the small box. So it's really important then that you write that down, that the large box is better value because it costs less, see here the smaller number, per gram than the small box. Question 10. There are some marbles in a jar. 16 of the marbles are green and 12 of the marbles are blue. Write down the ratio of green to blue. Green first, 16, ... blue, 12. We then need to simplify to give the answer in its simplest form, this ratio in its simplest form. Both numbers are in the 4 times table, so we divide by 4. 16 divided by 4 is 4, and 12 divided by 4 is 3. So our ratio in its simplest form is 4, ... 3. We're told that there are some pens and pencils in a box. The total number of pens and pencils is 48. The ratio of the number of pens to pencils is 1 to 5. And we need to work out the number of pencils. The pencil part is here, the 5. The 5 parts here as pencils is mentioned second. So we have in total 6 parts altogether. 6 parts is equal to 48. Let's find out the value of 1 part. 48 divided by 6 is 8. 1 part is 8, therefore 5 parts will be equal to 5 multiplied by 8, which is 40. Therefore, there are 40 pencils in the box. Question 11. On the grid, enlarge the shaded shape by a scale factor of 2, centre 0. The scale factor means we must multiply all of the lengths by 2. So let's take a look from where on the grid we need to draw this. If our centre here is 0, and let's look at this point here. To get to this point we go across 4 and up 1. So we're going to do double, multiply that by 2. We're going to go 8 and up 2. So our new point here is just here on the grid. Taking your ruler now, we can multiply each of these lengths by 2. So first we go across 4. This is 3, so we go 6. Here. Now to find out where this point is, we can see here that it's across 1, so we're going to go out 2 this time, and it's still going to be in the middle, so this here will be our point. And you can look at that at the journey as well. If we go out 1 and down a half, we go out 2 and down 3, double the distance. So this here in the red is the final shape. Question 12. The equation x to the power 3 plus 19x is equal to 65 has a solution between 2 and 3. So we're going to use a method of trial and improvement to find this answer correct to 1 decimal place. So take your ruler and draw yourself a quick table on your page now. You need 3 columns. Your first column is going to be for your trials of x. So to start with, let's go halfway between 2 and 3 and substitute in 2.5. The next column is for the answer to the substitution. So looking at your equation, you are going to substitute x in here in the 2 places. Using your calculator for that, your first answer here for 2.5 is 63.125. You then comment and compare that to the answer, which in this case is 65. So this number here is too low. So let's go up again higher. Let's go to 2.6. Moving up to 2.6 gives you 66.976. Now this number is too high because it's gone above the 65. So this is the situation that you're looking for, that these 2 numbers here to 1 decimal place are consecutive, 1 is too high and 1 is too low. Therefore, you can now check by going halfway between these 2 values, 2.55. Substituting that gives you 65.031, which is too high, it's above 65. That means that the answer correct to 1 decimal place is 2.5. You can visualise that using a number line here, that we have 2.5 was too low, 2.55 was too high, and here 2.6 was too high. So this number is too high. It means that the answer is somewhere along here, therefore it is closer to 2.5. So this is the final answer. Question 13. The scale on a map is 1 to 25,000. The distance between the school and the post office is 1.8 centimetres on a map. Work out the true distance in metres. So 1.25000. This scale here, as they do on maps, do not have a unit. So you choose the units. If you start here with centimetres on the left hand side, then we're going to have here on the right hand side also centimetres. So 1 to 1.8 we multiply by 1.8. Taking your calculator, you do the same to the right hand side. That gives us 45,000 centimetres. To convert that to metres, we divide by 100. So therefore, the true distance is 450 metres. Still using the same ratio, 1 to 25,000. This time, we're given the real distance as 5 kilometres between the 2 villages. So here now we are looking at trying to calculate the distance on the map in centimetres. So first off, let's convert here our 5 kilometres into centimetres. So first changing to metres by multiplying by 1,000, and then to centimetres by multiplying by 100. Centimetres. So Placing this now on the right-hand side of our ratio, we have here our 3 zeros and here 500. So looking at our relationship here, by dividing, we have 20. Therefore, 1 times 20 is 20 centimetres. Question 14. In the diagram, all measurements are in centimetres. Here we have a triangle where the lengths have been expressed algebraically. We need to find an expression in terms of x for the perimeter. The perimeter is the distance around the triangle. Therefore, we need to add up the 3 sides. So our first side, 4x plus 4, add 4x minus 1, add 2x plus 5. We're then asked to give this in its simplest form. So first off, let's take a look at all of the x's. So here we have 4x, and then we have another 4x, and then we have 2x, all positive. 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 2 is 10x. Then in terms of the numbers, we have here 3, negative 1 and positive 5, which gives us positive 7. In part B, we're asked to find x if the perimeter is equal to 42. So we therefore write our expression that we found in part A, 10x plus 7, and put it equal to 42. We then solve for x. The first step is subtract 7 from both sides. This leaves us with 10x equals 35. We then divide through by 10. X equals 35 divided by 10, which is 3.5. Question 15. Here we have the recorded times in minutes taken to repair 80 car tyres. The total here is 80. We're asked to estimate the mean. To do that, we need to find the midpoint of each of these groups. Halfway between 0 and 8 is 4. Between 8 and 16 is 12, then 20, 28, 36. We then need to multiply these two columns together. Frequency multiplied by midpoint. So taking your calculator and multiplying, we will get 48, 228, 580, 392, 216, adding up to find the total 1464. Therefore, the mean is equal to 1464 divided by 80, which is an estimated mean because we found the midpoint, 18.3. Question 16. Sarah, Richard and Alan went on holiday to Los Angeles. They travelled from London by plane. The distance was 8,760 kilometres. The plane took the time 9 hours. Calculate the average speed. Well, if you want to use your formula triangle for speed is equal to distance divided by time, we're going to take our distance, which is in kilometres, divided by our time, which is in hours, to give us our speed of 973.3 reoccurring kilometres per hour. And we can express that as 973 1/3. Question 17. Expand and simplify. Here we have a double bracket with a negative here in the second part to be careful of. We must multiply everything in the first bracket by everything in the second bracket. Start by multiplying y by y, which gives us y squared. Then y multiplied by negative 9 is negative 9y. Then here, 6 multiplied by y, both positive, is positive 6y, and 6 multiplied by negative, 1 positive, 1 negative, gives us negative 54. Then, for the simplifying part, we can simplify the part here in the middle. Both terms are y. Here we have negative 9, add 6 is negative 3y. The y squared stays the same at the beginning and the negative 54 stays. Question 18. Work out the length of PR. Here we have a right angle triangle. The length PR is found using Pythagoras with addition. So we will take our sides, 6 squared and 9 squared. The two sides, 6 and 9, added together gives us 117. Square rooting 117 will give us 10.81665383. Corrected 2 decimal places, we're looking here at the 6. This means it's a large number, therefore we round up 10.82. Question 19. There are 100 teachers at Bev's school. Bev found out the age of every teacher. Here is the table of results. We need to calculate the cumulative frequency. The first row will be the same here. 20 to 30 will give us 25. 25 add our 36 gives us 61. Add our 20, 81. Add 14, 95. Add 5, 100. To then plot this information on our cumulative frequency diagram, we're going to plot this with our cumulative frequency. So along our x-axis, we will go to 30 and up to 25. So 30 and up to 25. We then have 40 and 61 here, 50 and 81, 60 and 95, and 70 and 100. We're then going to come down in a curve and we're going to go all the way down here to 20 because this is our starting value here we're looking at. So now you need to connect your points to form an S-shape curve. It needs to be a smooth curve and it needs to be drawn freehand. So you're coming up here from the 20 and it needs to go through all of the points on your cumulative frequency diagram. Steep curve up through the points and up, slight plateau towards the end. We're then asked to use your graph to find an estimate for the median age. Well, altogether we have 100, so halfway is 50. Taking your ruler, drawing a line across at 50 to the cumulative frequency curve. Then dropping down, coming up here, and you're going to get approximately 37 for your median. In part D, use your graph to find an estimate for the number of these teachers who are older than 45. So similarly to the part before, but we're going to work in the opposite direction. So we're going to be starting on our x-axis, going across to 45, drawing a line up to the cumulative frequency and across. So here we're coming out approximately 71, but we're looking for the number that are older. That is all of these frequencies. So to find our answer, we're going to take the total frequency 100, subtract the 71 to find out the 29 teachers that are here. Question number 20. John invested £2,500 for 2 years in a savings account. He was paid 3% per annum compound interest. How much did John have in his saving account after 2 years? We take the value of his investment, 2,500, we multiply by a percentage increase of 3%, and our multiplier, which is 1.03, to the power 2, because for 2 years. This gives us our total at the end, which is 2652.25. Justin invested $3,500 for n years in a savings account. He was paid 6.5% per annum compound interest. At the end of n years, he had $4,502.63 in a savings account. We need to work out the value of n. So let's work out what calculation is taking place here. We have the amount, 3,500, multiplied by the percentage increase, the multiplier here, 1.065, and to the power the number of years, and that's what we need to work out. The easiest way to find the number of years is to try different values for n, which gives the answer as shown here on the screen. So I would start first with 2 years, then move on to 3 years, and you will find if you put in for 4 years here, you will get the correct answer. So here the value of n is 4. Question 21. In this question we have 2 right angle triangles, but we have angles marked. So this is not Pythagoras, instead we are using trigonometry. First we need to find the angle marked here. Labelling up our triangle, opposite to the right angle is hypotenuse, opposite to the angle is O, and the third side is adjacent. In this case we are not using the O side, there is nothing on this side. So thinking about SOHCAHTOA, we can see here that because the O is here and here, we must be using cosine. The triangle will help us here, CAH, just in the order in SOHCAHTOA. The A is 7 and the H is 9. To find our angle, our cos x, we're going to use the inverse function. So here we have cos x equals 7 over 9. So x equals cos to the negative 1 bracket 7 divided by 9. Correct to 1 decimal place is 38.9. Our other right angle triangle for part B, we have the angle. So this side here is opposite the right angle is hypotenuse, and the third side is adjacent. We are not using the hypothesis because there is no information given or we are asked to find for here. So therefore we are not using sin, not using cos, we're going to be using tan. Using our triangle again, TOA. O we have as 6.5. A is what we are finding. T t is the angle, in this case 35. So y is equal to 65 divided by tan 35. Putting that into your calculator, correct to one decimal place, is 9.3. Question 22. 212 students each play one of three sports. Here we have the information in the table. A stratified sample is taken and there are 50 in the sample out of the 212. We need to work out the number of females who play volleyball in the sample. Well, for females and volleyball, we have here 34 in total. So to find the number in the stratified sample, we take that number, the females who play volleyball, divided by our total and multiply by our sample size. Putting that into your calculator, you will get 8.0188. Obviously, we can't have 0.0188 of a person, so we round here to the integer value of 8, the nearest integer whole number. Similarly, when we work out the number of males, we take the total number of males, which we find by adding up these three values here. The total number of males is 106, divided by the total, 212, multiplied by the sample size, 50, which gives us 25. Question 23. A and B are two solid shapes which are mathematically similar. We have here the surface area for A as 200 and for B 32 centimetres squared. So we need to find the relationship between these numbers. So let's divide 32 by 200, which will give you the scale factor, which here is 0.16. So moving from here to here, we times by 0.16. Now this is the scale factor squared because we are dealing with area. So we must square root to find the scale factor, which is 0.4. Now we can use that value when we then need to find the mass, which is the same as the volume of B. So we start with a value for A, which is 750, and to move to B, we're going to times by the scale factor, 0.4 to the power 3, because we are dealing with volume cubed. That gives us the mass of B, which is 120 grams. Question 24. Prove this expression is an even number for all positive integer values for n. Let's start by expanding our brackets here. So we have 5n plus 1 squared, so we multiply it by itself. That's going to give us 25n squared plus 5n plus 5n plus 1, which is equal to 25n squared plus 10n plus 1. Expanding our second part here, 5n subtract 1, close bracket, 5n subtract 1, close bracket. 25n squared, subtract 5n plus 1. Two negatives here multiplied together gives us a positive. 25n squared, subtract 10n plus 1. Then let's write these together, noting in the middle here we have the negative sign. So our first part will be 25n squared plus 10n plus 1. And then we're going to be subtracting 25n squared. We've got a negative and a negative, so adding 10n and a negative here, so this becomes negative 1. So here we can see that these two cancel. This 1 here cancels here, so we're left with 20n. We can then write that as 2 brackets 10n, close brackets. So we see here that we have, this must be a multiple of 2. This is a multiple of 2, therefore it must be an even number, because we have a multiple of 2. Question 25. Calculate the area of this triangle. Here we apply the formula half AB sine C. This side is A, this side is B, and this is the angle enclosed, which is the sine C part. Substituting into your calculator, half times 7.8 times 12.5 times sine 59. Correct to 3 significant figures is 41.8. To find the length of BC, the line across here, we use the cosine rule. To do this, we are going to find the length, a squared, and we do this by first off the 2 sides squared added together. Subtract 2 multiplied by the sides, 7.8 multiplied by 12.5, multiplied by the cos angle enclosed, 59. Bring that all into your calculator, gives you a squared equals 116.6575 Square root gives you a equals 10.8, correct to 3 significant figures. Question 26. By considering bounds, work out the value of A to a suitable degree of accuracy. In all bounds question, our first step is to look at our numbers and write down the upper and lower bound. So for B, we have the upper bound 8.235 and the lower bound 8.225. For C, which is correct to 3 decimal places, our upper bound will be 7.5145. Our lower bound, 7.5135. We then need to calculate our overall upper and lower bound for this formula here. A equals the square root of B divided by C. So first off, let's take a look at the upper bound. To be able to find the upper bound, our square root, we want the biggest possible number here. To do that, we're going to take here our biggest number, the upper bound, divide by the smallest number, the lower bound. When we go on then to find the lower bound, we want the smallest possible number here. So we're going to take the lower bound and divide by the upper bound. So let's now substitute the numbers into the right places. So for here, we're going to be doing the square root of 8.235 divided by 7.5135, which is going to give us 1.046913154. And here for our lower bound, we're taking the square root of 8.225 divided by the upper bound 7.5145, which gives us 1.046207692. Now we need to look and compare these two values. So we're looking for where they round to the same number. So we look at 3 decimal places here. We can see here that this is a 9 and here this is a 2. This will stay at 6, but this will move up to 7. So that won't give us the same answer. If we look at 2 decimal places, this is a 6 here, this is a 6 here. So this number here rounds to 5 and this number rounds to 5. So here, a suitable degree of accuracy, the answer will be 1.05, which is correct to 2 decimal places. Question 27. Solve the simultaneous equations. One is quadratic and one is linear. Our first step is to get this linear equation equal to y or x. Since y is already on its own, let's make this equal to y. So 20 subtract 3x, just by moving the 3x to the right-hand side by dividing. We're then going to substitute this value, this here, the 20 subtract 3x, into here. So doing that, we have x squared plus bracket 20 minus 3x squared equals 80. We now have an equation just with x's. So first, let's expand this bracket here. So this stays here. We've got our plus here that we will come back to, but we're then going to have 20 minus 3x bracket 20 minus 3x is equal to 80. Multiplying that out here, we're then going to have x squared plus, and we'll put all of this into a bracket. So 20 times 20 is 400. 20 multiplied by negative 3x is negative 60x. Here we have negative 60x again, and here negative multiplied by negative is positive 9x squared, close bracket, equals 80. Now this addition, this positive sign outside, is going to change a few things inside. So here we've got positive, that's fine. Here we've got negative, negative, and positive here. So here now we're going to have x squared plus 400 subtract 120x plus 9x squared equals 80. And now bringing together our x squareds here will give us 10x squared subtract 120x plus 400 equals 80. We now need to make this equal to 0, so we're going to subtract the 80. We then have 10x squared minus 120x plus 320 equals 0. Now we can divide all of these numbers by 10, which is going to make this simpler. So we then have x squared minus 12x plus 32 equals 0. We can then split this into two brackets equaling 0. So we have 1 times 32 is 32. So 1 and 32, 2 and 16, 3 and 12, 4 and 8. So here for our negative 12, we're going to have subtract and subtract. So here x subtract 4 and here x subtract 8. Therefore x is equal to 4 and y is equal to 8. Substituting these now into our rearranged equation here, we can then find the value for y, which corresponds. So here we have 20 subtract 4 times 3 is 12, which gives us 8. And here 20 subtract 3 multiplied by 8, which is negative 24, which gives us minus 4. So here we have our two values for x, 4 and 8, and our two values for y, 8 and negative 4. Question 28. The graph of y equals fx is shown on the grids. First we need to sketch the graph of y equals f bracket x negative 2. This means we're going to move to the right 2 places. So our crossing point here 3 becomes here at 5, our crossing point here at -1 will then be at 1, and our minimum point here, which is 1, will go to 3. So then we're coming up here, exactly the same graph, it hasn't been stretched. So you can draw a neater one, and there. For part B, we have inside the bracket here in front of the x the coefficient and negative, and this is a reflection in the y-axis. So we have a mirror image here, so our negative 1 here. We're going to then flip over, so we have then the graph crossing here at 1, here at -3, and the minimum point at -1 here.